Ashes of a dead world, the galaxy still remembered the fire. 3,000 years ago, the skies of Earth had burned. Alien fleets had descended upon the human homeworld like a storm of death. Cities fell in days, oceans boiled, forests turned to ash. The proud blue and green planet, once alive with music, art, and invention, was left a smoking ruin. The victors, a coalition of alien empires, celebrated their victory as the end of a dangerous species. Humanity, they said, was too ambitious, too stubborn, too unpredictable. If left unchecked, humans would one day challenge the great powers of the galaxy. So, the aliens decided to erase them before that future could ever arrive, and so Earth burned. For centuries afterward, alien children learned the story as a warning. This is what happens to those who defy the Council. Scholars wrote of humanity as a cautionary tale, a reckless race that reached too high and was punished for its arrogance. The galaxy moved on, believing the humans extinct. But the truth was different. Far beyond the ruins, beyond the reach of alien patrols, small fragments of humanity had survived. Broken fleets scattered across hidden colonies, soldiers who refused to surrender, families who fled into the deep void, carrying nothing but memories of their dead world. For 3,000 years, they waited. Generations were born and died in exile, but one memory remained sharp as steel: Earth's destruction. The flames of their home still lived in their dreams. They carried the pain like a wound that never healed, a wound passed from parent to child until it became part of their very blood. In the cold silence of forgotten star systems, humanity rebuilt. They studied the technology of their enemies, learned their weaknesses, and forged weapons of their own, weapons sharper, faster, and stronger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Their fleets grew in secret, hidden within nebulae and dead worlds, invisible to the eyes of those who once hunted them, and they swore a single oath. One day, they would return. The galaxy laughed at the thought. Ghosts, they called the whispers. Old myths. After all, 3,000 years was a long time. Surely no race could endure in silence for so long. Surely humanity was gone. But then, in the deep void, far from trade routes and colonies, a shadow moved. A massive fleet drifted in formation, its hulls black as night, its weapons humming with silent power. At its center flew a single banner, a world of blue oceans and white clouds glowing against the darkness, the banner of Earth. On the command deck of the flagship, the human admiral stood before a window that looked out into endless space. His voice was calm, yet every word burned with fire. 3,000 years, he said. They thought we were finished. They thought they could burn our home and bury our name. But humanity is not ashes. Humanity is fire. The officers around him, men and women whose ancestors had lived only in exile, bowed their heads. The admiral raised his hand toward the stars where the alien empire slept, unaware of the storm approaching. Now, he said, we rise. The fleet engines roared to life. Thousands of ships slipped into hyperspace, their paths pointed straight, toward the heart of the alien empire. Silent, cold, and unstoppable, they carried not just weapons but the fury of generations. The galaxy did not know it yet, but the ghosts of Earth were coming home. And they would not come in peace ghosts the void darkness stretched across the stars, calm and endless. But inside that silence, something was moving. Alien patrol ships cruised the border of their empire, scanning empty space. For thousands of years, this had been routine. Quiet, boring, safe. They believed the old enemy was long dead. Yet, one by one, those patrols started to vanish. At first, it was a single frigate. No wreckage, no distress call, nothing but silence. The command center laughed it off. Pirates, they said. Accidents. But then 3 more patrols disappeared within days, leaving only static in their final transmissions. Fear spread like wildfire. Veteran captains whispered among themselves, voices low, afraid of being overheard. Some swore they had seen shapes moving in the dark, shadows gliding silently, faster than any scanner could track. One frightened crewman claimed he had seen a single glowing banner in the void, a blue and white flag marked with a world that no longer existed. He whispered the word like a curse. Humans. The High Command dismissed it. They insisted humanity was dead, wiped out, burned to ashes 3,000 years ago. It was impossible. But deep down, the older officers remembered stories told by their ancestors, stories of human rage, of human cunning, of human wars that shook the galaxy itself. Now those old nightmares seemed to be walking again. More ships went missing. Convoys carrying weapons vanished without a trace. Even war cruisers, ships built for battle, sent desperate calls for help before being swallowed by the dark. One recording survived, a broken signal filled with static and screaming. Through the noise, one phrase was heard, carved into every mind that listened. "We are humanity. We remember." The council tried to hide it, but the truth could not be contained. Rumors spread to soldiers, to workers, to common citizens. A name once thought buried in history returned like a ghost. The humans had come back. But no one knew how. Had they rebuilt their fleets in secret? Had they survived on distant worlds? Or had something darker kept them alive all this time? In the border colonies, people locked their doors at night and stared at the sky, waiting for shadows. In the fleets, captains grew paranoid, ordering weapons armed at all times. But it made no difference. The attacks continued. The humans did not fight like other species. They did not announce their presence. They did not send demands. They appeared out of nowhere, struck with terrifying precision, and then vanished back into the dark. To the aliens, it felt less like fighting an army, and more like being hunted. One massive convoy became their first true victim. It carried food, fuel, and soldiers for the Empire's front lines. The escorts numbered in the dozens, warships bristling with weapons. The commander laughed when he heard the rumors of humans. Ghost stories, he called them. But when the convoy entered the void, the lights around them began to flicker. Strange signals jammed their systems. Shadows appeared on the edge of their scanners, too fast, too sharp to be natural. Then the attack came. Human warships uncloaked in perfect formation. Sleek, dark, and terrifyingly silent. They fired with weapons unseen for millennia. Alien shields collapsed as if they were made of paper. Ships exploded in fire, scattering debris into space. The alien commander screamed orders, but nothing worked. Communications failed. Engines died. The humans moved with a deadly calm, cutting through the convoy as if rehearsed 1,000 times before. When it was over, dozens of ships burned in the void. Only one vessel was spared, its systems disabled, but its hull intact. The survivors were forced to watch as the humans broadcast a single message across every channel. "We are humanity. We remember. You burned our home. Now we return for yours." Then the human ships vanished, leaving silence behind. The survivors carried the story back to the Empire. By the time they returned, the tale had already grown into legend. Soldiers spoke in hushed tones of human fleets that could appear anywhere, of weapons that could shatter worlds, of eyes glowing in the void. The council tried to control the fear, but even they were shaken. If this was true, if humanity had truly returned, then every world, every colony, every city of their empire was in danger. For 3,000 years, the galaxy had believed itself safe. Now, ghosts had risen from the ashes of Earth, and they were not here for peace. They were here for vengeance. The first blow. The alien convoy drifted through space like a floating city. Hundreds of supply ships carried food, weapons, and fuel for the Empire's armies. War cruisers surrounded them in heavy formation, their shields glowing bright. The commander of the convoy stood proud on his bridge, laughing at the rumors spreading across the Empire. "Humans? Ghosts?" he mocked. "Stories to frighten children? Pirates, nothing more. We will crush them if they dare to show themselves." His officers laughed with him, but unease sat deep in their eyes. Reports of vanished patrols were increasing. Strange transmissions, static-filled cries, and the words that haunted everyone. "We are humanity. We remember." For days, the convoy traveled without incident. The crew began to relax. Perhaps the commander was right. Perhaps there was nothing to fear. Then, on the third night, the stars flickered. At first, it seemed like a trick of the scanners, a distortion in space. But then the lights dimmed across the entire convoy. Engines faltered. Weapons went cold. The alien crews scrambled in panic as strange signals jammed their systems. Out of the darkness, shadows began to appear. One by one, sleek black warships slid into view. Their hulls absorbing starlight, their weapons glowing faint red. They moved with deadly silence, surrounding the convoy like wolves circling prey. The alien commander froze. His blood ran cold. "Identify them," he shouted. A terrified officer whispered the words he feared most. "Humans. Sir, it's the humans." Before he could react, the first strike fell. The lead human ship fired. A beam of white fire cut through space, slicing a war cruiser in half as if it were paper. Explosion after explosion rocked the convoy. Alien shields collapsed, instantly under human weapons. Panic spread through the ships. Some tried to fight, others tried to flee. It made no difference. The humans moved like a storm, silent and merciless. Their attacks were precise, every shot calculated. Engines, weapons, and bridges were destroyed with perfect accuracy. Entire ships fell dark, drifting helplessly before being torn apart by another blast. The alien commander screamed orders, but communications were dead. His fleet was blind, deaf, and broken before the battle had even begun. Then, amid the chaos, a voice cut through the static. Calm, cold, human. We are humanity. We remember. The message echoed across every channel, repeating again and again. Every alien who heard it felt their hearts freeze. This was not the voice of pirates. This was the voice of vengeance. Within minutes, the mighty convoy was nothing but wreckage. Flames burned across broken hulls. Survivors drifted in the void, helpless and silent, staring at the enemy they thought extinct. And then, as suddenly as they had come, the human ships vanished. Engines flared and the fleet slipped back into hyperspace, leaving only ruins behind. But one ship was spared. Its weapons disabled, its engines destroyed. It was left floating with its crew alive. The survivors watched as a human drone approached, their bridge. It carried no weapons, only a single glowing projection. It was an image of Earth. Not the burned ruins the aliens remembered, but Earth as it had once been. Blue oceans, white clouds, and green forests, alive with beauty. Underneath, words burned like fire. You destroyed our world. Now we will destroy yours. The drone self-destructed, leaving the survivors shaken and broken. When the wreck limped back to the Empire, its crew told the story in trembling voices. They described ships faster than anything they had seen, weapons that tore through shields, and a fleet that fought with terrifying precision. But most of all, they repeated the words that would spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The humans have returned. The High Council received the report in silence. Some dismissed it as fear and lies. Others trembled, remembering the ancient warnings written in old archives. They had once called humanity dangerous, too ambitious to be allowed to live. Now that old fear was alive again. The first blow had been struck, and it was only the beginning. The fear spreads. The Empire had always believed itself unshakable. Its fleets stretched across hundreds of worlds, its armies countless, its capital shining like a jewel in the center of the stars. For thousands of years, no enemy had ever truly threatened its rule. But now a shadow had fallen across that shining crown. News of the destroyed convoy spread faster than the council could control. Soldiers whispered it in barracks, traders spoke it in markets, and citizens repeated it in hushed voices at night. The humans, those old ghosts of fire, were back. And they were not fighting for survival. They were fighting for vengeance. The council tried to silence the rumors. It was pirates, they declared. It was nothing. But no one believed them anymore. Survivors had seen the human flag. Survivors had heard the human voice. We are humanity. We remember. Fear spread like poison. In border colonies, people locked their doors and refused to travel at night. Convoys begged for more escorts, though everyone knew it wouldn't matter. Patrol ships reported strange shadows following them, only to vanish before being identified. Even mighty admirals, once proud and fearless, grew paranoid. They ordered their crews to keep weapons hot at all times, scanners running at maximum range. But the humans always struck from the darkness where scanners could not reach. It was not just war, it was terror. The humans attacked differently from any enemy the Empire had faced. They did not engage in long battles. They did not waste ships in open wars. They appeared suddenly, struck with precision, and then vanished before reinforcements arrived. A power station on a mining world was destroyed without warning. Entire colonies went dark, their cities left without power. Fleets dispatched to protect them arrived too late, finding only silence and wreckage. One by one, the Empire's borders began to bleed. And then came the broadcast. It happened on a night when the Empire's capital slept. Across every communication channel, across every world, across every starship, a human face appeared. It was a soldier, clad in dark armor, his eyes cold. Behind him burned an image of Earth destroyed and in flames. His voice was calm, steady, without mercy. 3,000 years ago, you burned our home. For every city you destroyed, we will burn 10 of yours. For every life you ended, we will end 10,000. You thought we were gone. But we are humanity. We remember. The message repeated across every screen until the Council forced it down. But it was too late. The galaxy had heard. Panic followed. Crowds rioted in the streets, demanding protection. Colonies sent desperate pleas for evacuation. Some even abandoned their homes, fleeing deeper into the Empire, convinced the humans were already on their way. The Council gathered in secret, their voices trembling with anger and fear. Some shouted for total war, every ship, every weapon, thrown against the humans before it was too late. Others whispered that perhaps peace was the only way. But when the old records were brought out, silence fell across the chamber. The records told of humanity's past, a race that had risen too quickly, that had fought too fiercely, that had resisted until their last breath. Even in death, humans had refused to bow, and now after 3,000 years they had returned stronger than before. Outside, in the farthest reaches of space, human fleets continued their silent war. Colony after colony went dark, patrols vanished, convoys burned. Every day new rumors spread, of human war machines, of weapons that could crack entire planets, of fleets so large they blotted out the stars. Fear became the Empire's greatest enemy, and as that fear spread, one truth became clear to all. The humans were not ghosts. The humans were real, and they were coming. The Council's desperation. Alien High Council gathered in their grand chamber, a hall built of silver stone and glowing crystal. It was a place where decisions of peace and war had been made for centuries. But tonight the room felt heavy, as if shadows pressed in from all sides. Every council member knew why they had been summoned. The humans. For days the Empire had bled. Colonies lost, fleets destroyed, citizens in open panic, and worst of all, the humans' broadcast still echoed in every mind. For every city you burned on Earth, we will burn 10 of yours. The Supreme Chancellor slammed his fist against the table. His voice shook with fury. This cannot continue. These humans are nothing but vermin, pirates with stolen ships. We will crush them. But an older counselor spoke, his voice low and grim. You are blind. These are not pirates. I have seen the old records. Humans were always clever, always dangerous. Even 3,000 years ago, it took the united strength of all our fleets to destroy them. And now they have returned. With weapons beyond our understanding. The chamber filled with arguments. Some shouted for all fleets to be recalled, for every ship to join in a massive strike to hunt the humans down. Others warned that leaving the borders unguarded would only invite rebellion. One counselor whispered words no one wanted to hear. Perhaps we should seek peace. The chamber went silent. Peace? Another spat. With ghosts who come only to burn, they will not listen. They will not stop. They want only vengeance. But the older counselor shook his head. No. They want more than vengeance. They want fear. Every attack, every message. This is not random. This is strategy. They are breaking us before the true war begins. A chilling silence followed his words. Many remembered the old warnings written by their ancestors. Never underestimate humanity. If even one seed survives, they will grow again. If even one hand remains, it will become a fist. And now the fist had returned. The council demanded answers. How many human fleets were there? Where did they come from? What weapons did they possess? The admirals could not say. Every report spoke of new horrors, ships faster than light itself, weapons that ignored shields, drones that appeared in cities overnight to broadcast their threats. One commander revealed something darker. We captured fragments of human code from the wreckage of a destroyed drone. It speaks of a weapon built long ago, hidden in the ashes of their exile. If the humans unleash it. He did not finish. The room grew cold. For a moment, no one spoke. The Empire, mighty and eternal, was facing an enemy they had once believed destroyed. And not just an enemy born from their own cruelty. The burning of Earth had not ended humanity. It had only given them reason to hate. The Chancellor's voice broke the silence. We cannot show weakness. If we fear, we fall. We will fight them with everything we have. Raise new fleets. Call every soldier. If the humans want war, we will give them war. But another voice rose, trembling. And if we cannot win? The question hung in the chamber like a curse. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Empire faced the possibility of defeat. And not just defeat, but destruction. The council dismissed the meeting with no true answer. Some left in anger, demanding war. Others left in silence, their faces pale. Whispers spread in the corridors. Some feared rebellion, others feared collapse. But one thing was certain. The humans had forced the Empire to its knees without ever setting foot on their capital, and the worst was still to come. The weapon of Earth far from the Empire's borders, hidden deep in a dead star system. The humans had kept their greatest secret. In the ruins of an ancient station, buried within asteroid fields where no alien dared travel, machines older than any empire still waited. They had been built during Earth's final days when humans knew the end was coming. Great warforges, automated and tireless, designed to create fleets without end. When Earth burned, the machines slept, their purpose unfinished. But the survivors of humanity never forgot. They protected the forges in silence, feeding them resources, repairing their systems, preparing for the day they would be needed again. Now, after 3,000 years, the forges awakened. Inside colossal chambers, engines roared. Metal flowed like rivers, shaped by machines faster than human hands. One by one, warships were born, sleek, black, and deadly, carrying weapons no alien had ever seen. The process never stopped. Every hour, new ships emerged. Every day, the fleet grew stronger. The admirals of humanity stood within the command tower of the forges, watching as thousands of ships formed perfect lines in the void. Their faces were grim but proud. This was not just revenge. This was survival. One admiral spoke, his voice echoing through the chamber. Our ancestors built these machines as their final gift. They knew Earth would fall, but they gave us the tools to rise again. And now we rise not as survivors, but as conquerors. The others bowed their heads in silence. Beyond the Forge world, the war continued. Human fleets struck deeper into the Empire, cutting supply lines, destroying bases, and leaving colonies powerless. Each victory spread terror, but now the humans, prepared for something greater. The Empire's spies finally discovered the truth. Hidden agents returned with trembling reports. The humans had a weapon factory older than their exile, a machine that could create endless fleets. When the council heard, Panic tore through the chamber. "They cannot be stopped," one counselor whispered. "Every ship we destroy they will replace. Every fleet we scatter they will rebuild." Another shouted in fear. "It is not war. It is extinction. The humans mean to erase us, just as we erased them." And in that moment, they finally understood. Humanity's strength was not only in their weapons, it was in their will, the unbreakable, burning will to survive and to fight until victory. Meanwhile, in the darkness of space, the humans prepared their final move. The great fleets gathered, thousands of ships aligned in silence. The admirals gave one last order. The time had come to strike at the Empire's heart. Every engine flared, every weapon charged, and as the fleet moved, a single message spread across the stars. "We are humanity. We remember. Now we come for your capital." The alien worlds trembled. Citizens screamed in fear. Armies braced for war. The capital itself, the jewel of the Empire, prepared for a siege like no other. But the truth was clear. No defense could stop what was coming. The weapon of Earth had awakened, and with it, the fury of an entire species. Humanity's final word. The galaxy held its breath. For the first time in thousands of years, the ancient enemies of Earth faced the full wrath of the returning humans. Entire fleets had already been shattered. Worlds that once laughed at humanity now trembled at the sound of their war drums. But the humans did not destroy everything. That was the true shock. They struck with perfect precision, only against the guilty, only against those who had taken part in the burning of Earth. Innocent colonies were left untouched. The alien council gathered, broken and fearful. They had once ruled the stars without question. Now they bowed their heads as human envoys entered the chamber. The lead envoy, clad in black armor that gleamed with the fire of distant suns, spoke with a voice that carried across the hall. "We do not come as conquerors. We come as judges, justice for Earth and warning for all who dare to burn what we build." The council remained silent. None dared to challenge. Humanity's power was beyond imagination. Their unity, forged through 3,000 years of exile, was unshakable. Then, to prove their words, the humans revealed something terrifying. A colossal ark world hidden deep in the void. Inside it were the seeds of 1,000 Earths, ready to spread across the stars. Earth was gone, but humanity could never be erased again. The message was clear. We are eternal. Harm one human, and you face us all. Some aliens wept. Others lowered their heads. A few whispered in awe, because in the end, humanity had shown something even greater than vengeance, restraint, justice, and a future that no enemy could ever burn away. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity returned. And from that moment on, one truth echoed across the stars. Humans were not just survivors. They were destiny.